Mm, Good evening. I would like to call the Flint Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting to order. The time is 6:36. And at this time, board members, as I call your name, please reply by saying present for the record. Secretary Green, Treasurer McIntyre, Assistant Secretary Treasurer McNeil, and myself, Carol McIntosh, is present. In case you have not heard, Trustee Perry and Trustee Wright have submitted their letters of resignation. I would like to thank them for their years of service to the Board of Education and wish them all the best in their future endeavors. If you are a registered voter in the Flint School District and interested in applying for one of these vacant seats, please visit the district's website at flintschools.org to obtain the application. Um, all completed applications are due by 4 p.m. on Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021 to Ms. Elston. Board members, can we agree to place a hold on our calendar for Wednesday, September 29th, 2021 to conduct interviews for the applicant?
What date again?
Wednesday, September 29th, 2021.
Yes.
What's the 22nd for? That's when the applications are due, so that you guys can review the applicants and prepare to do the.
Absolutely. 9/29, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now the board will hear any comments from the public. If you have a script, please turn it into the board executive assistant, Ms. Monica Elston. We ask that you state the reason for addressing the board and that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes on matters within the jurisdiction of the board, not address individuals by name. The presiding officer of the board shall have the right to limit the number of persons who may address the board on the same subjects. Members of the public are recommended that the board, by its bylaws 1370, is not under any obligation to answer questions, make comments, or statements in response to issues raised by the public. In general, such issues will be referred to the superintendent for investigation, study, or recommendation. Audience members are reminded to state their name and address, and if appropriate, the group they represent, employees of the board, representatives of employee organizations and/or unions, and students should exhaust administrative procedures before addressing the board on matters for which administrative review is provided. You are solely responsible for the content of your public statement. Is there anyone here from the public who wishes to address the board? And I do have some members, Theda Davis Henderson, that would wish to like to address the board.
Evening. My name is Theda Davis Henson. I stay at 1906 Park Forest Drive, Flint, Michigan. And the reason I'm addressing the board is about the funding or the potential funding that the Mott Foundation consider contributing to donate to the school system. And I'm also addressing about the $99 million that you receive for the pandemic fund. As a public citizen, the potential $200 million from the Mott Foundation and other sources to build additional school. Do the Flint Board of Education has another plan if they're not going to accept the proposal that has been set before them? And do you really have the students in mind when you're thinking about what the students need? Because they need better schooling in order to be educated and to feel comfortable and safe. And then with the $99 million that you receive for the pandemic fund, what steps are being taken? Are parents being questioned? Students test scores from previous year are being information gathered to determine what programs will be set in place for the students? And what programs do you plan on implementing before the funding expires in 2022?
Thank you, ma'am. And I would just like to say for the record, we have been speaking with the CS Mott Foundation concerning the MOUs and a plan for partnership with the Board of Education and their foundation. So we are in conversation and working together collaboratively. even though we had a disagreement, we immediately started back speaking. So that is a misconception out there to the public that we're not talking and moving forward in the partnership. We are, and we have been for some time. So I just wanted to put that dog to rest. Next, we have Vyasia Eldridge. Vivica, is that what? Okay, I know what that was. Thank you, ma'am. I'm sorry for messing up. your
No,
name.
it's okay. It happens more often than you think. My name is Vivica Aldridge. I stay at 5514 Lorraine, Flint, Michigan. I just had a few concerns because when I tried to remove my son from Flint schools and take him to another school district, his behavior report hindered him a lot. And a lot of it was, for lack of a better word, it was kind of culture shock for him because of where he came from or whatever. And so my question to the board is, when there's a situation where a student and teacher are involved in an altercation and the student, of course, gets reprimanded for their behavior, what happens to the teacher? How are parents to know when something happens with the teacher, whether a kid is mistreated, feels that they've been treated unfairly? How are we to know what's happening to the teacher? You know what I mean? Because all we see is we continue to walk into the school and they still have their job, but our kid had to sit out for a few days for a situation that very well could have been avoided. My next thing is, I have a 20-year-old. I went to Flint schools. So it is very different from when I went to school till now. Everybody can attest to that. But I kind of just wanted to throw it out there because this was said to me by my 9-year-old. He told me that it's hard to go to school and trust a teacher when a teacher talks to you with anger and aggression and you don't feel love in the school. And so I just feel like, and it's not just me, it's other parents that I talk to, we all feel like a big part of the problem is it's a big disconnect with community kids and quote unquote teachers that are not from the inner city, that just don't get it, that don't understand, that don't want to take the time to even try to understand, because with them, it's just kind of no gray area. It's black and it's white and that's it. Not black and white as in color, I mean just black and white. You know what I mean? They don't see the gray area. So that is another concern that I do have and that I know other parents have. So if somebody could just take some steps and just make everybody feel a little more comfortable, I think there could be a lot more progress and there could be attendance going back up and things like that, because we have a lot of concerns and a lot of unanswered questions. And as you can see, a lot of them not here because they got stuff to do. I made a way. I got babysitters. I did what I had to do to be here because I felt like I needed to be heard, because I just feel like emails aren't enough. So I thank y'all for y'all time. I pray that y'all take what I said into consideration, and thank you.
Ms. Vivica, Mr. Kevlin is gonna look into some of your concerns. Next, we have Settle.
My name is Marla Settle.
Marla.
I live at 19201 Blackberry Creek. I am a grandparent that has children in Flint schools, and I am an attendant agent. My first concern is the fact that we have gone out over the course this summer and during our time down, we've gone out to try to petition our children to come back. One of the big barriers that we have is we're not willing to go the extra mile to transport children who have moved from within the school that they go to. So we've had parents whose children have gone to Brownell and they had to move with a parent or somebody because of whatever circumstances. Well, they now live in Freeman's district, But we're not willing to go pick that child up from Freeman's district and bring them to the school where they're comfortable with, where their parents trust the people. And I learned that a lot of parents just took their children, Linden Charter, New Standard, Northridge, and it broke my heart because we could have these students if we went that extra mile to say, hey, okay, we got a bus that's gonna go like Grand Blanc Academy, they go all over to pick up their kids. They out in Beecher. Why can't we do that? We want our children back. We got to go the extra mile. Second thing is, as a outsourced employee of the district, attendance agents, behavior specialists, parent facilitators, we all go the extra mile to get our kids and keep them in the building. So when that money went out, we felt some type of way. Several of us from Brownell reached out to EduStaff and they told us it all falls back on Flint Community Schools because they didn't get no money for us. Ain't nothing they can do. We got to go back to our school district. So we like, okay, we know that's not true. We know everybody got money, but you want to throw it back on us. So if it is at all possible, is there any way that you guys can put some screws to them to find out where our money is as the ones who go out and bring the kids back to school, as the ones who stand in the gap to keep the parents from getting upset? Because there's been plenty of days where I've had irate parents and they ready to rip, oh, come on, come to my office. Let me talk to you. And I talk them down. But we love what we do, but we want some type of gratification for working through a pandemic that we worked through the entire time. You know, and I'm speaking for secretaries, behavior specialists, parent facilitators, SSTs, attendance clerks, because we've all been outsourced. So if there's any way that you can help us, we would greatly appreciate it. And I want to say thank you guys for closing our schools down during this hot, hot heat. Thank you.
I just want to say we are at this point, as you all know, we consider everybody who stuck it out with us. We are at a very fragile state in our district. So what we're doing now is we're checking our books and we're checking them twice, making sure our numbers are proper, making sure that we're in compliance with all government orders as we operate as a district, making sure that we do our due diligence to get our issues handled. So I'm asking that you be patient with us. It is definitely our intentions to do everybody right and to treat everyone fairly. But you know our situation, and so we want to handle the business first. We're asking that you stick it out with us and trust us. Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am. I don't have your name here, so can you state your name?
You want me to go?
Go ahead, yes, ma'am.
I want to say good afternoon to everybody. It's so good to see people are coming together. You see, that's the first thing that we got to do as neighbors and as adults. We got to come together with our children. The book of Proverbs says, train up a child in the way it should go. And when it is old, it will not depart from it. So you can tell I am Pastor Miller, and I pastor the prayer center, and I live on 3601 Providence Street, about 10 minutes away. I want to say this is the school that my children graduate from, and they all grown and got children. So this school has been here a long time. So I want to say, praise the Lord, until we come together with our children. You know, they have an old saying, say it takes a whole neighborhood to train up a child. You know, a child is smart enough to wait till he get out of mama's sight and he get around the corner, he started showing out. But that neighbor around the corner, hey, it take all of us. 'Cause I don't want my kid going around the neighborhood throwing rocks and apples and breaking out people's window. So we got to teach them, praise the Lord. Hallelujah. They are the adults of tomorrow. You see, we are getting old, and praise God. Come on, let us do it. We can do it, praise the Lord. But can't no one person do it by himself, praise the Lord. We have got to want to, praise the Lord, to work together, praise the Lord. We want to teach our children. The best book that I found is the Book of Proverbs. It teaches young people how to act and and how to talk. It teaches our young people how to respect others. Hallelujah. So we got to come together. The teacher can't do it all by herself. It takes all of us. It takes the president, the vice president, the secretary, the teachers. Praise the Lord. When our kids go to school, our teachers got to spend so much time in teaching little junior how to sit in the chair, how to sit still and listen. But he's supposed to learn that at home. So I'm going to be coming to these meetings, and I missed last week, but I ain't going to be missing too many because I'm just like Esther. I want to see everybody child make it. I want to see every kid to become somebody. Hallelujah. We don't want them to just become a wicked people doing things to destroy. We want to teach all our kids to become builders and not tear down. So I'm going to be coming. So I am Pastor Miller. And I believe in getting loud. I believe in saying, God, come on in. I believe in saying, God, touch our heart. God, give me a righteous heart. So many of us out there heart is not right.
Thank you. All right. And our last person that is to come before the mic is Mr. Arthur Woodson. Mr. Arthur Woodson, there he is. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Name is Arthur Woodson. Let me start off by asking the board, is there some type of way that we can, that you all can get together with behavioral counselors and start looking up all the kids that were affected by the water or who had IEPs? Let's start putting that together so that the kids that have graduated, we can start looking for them and doing follow-up and checking to see if they were affected. I've been asking the prosecutor and everyone, uh, kids that have been juvenile, are they doing evaluations on them to see if they were affected by this lead? We keep forgetting that, we had a water crisis and it affects the kids mentally, behavioral issues. And we really need to talk to the state about that. And to speak on what this young lady was speaking about, since the pandemic, I've been asking the state, the federal government, the city to help and pay the people who were considered frontline to me, volunteers that worked at the help centers during the wintertime, out in the rain. And now that I hear that they volunteer and they help out the schools also, they are the unforgotten people. Everybody's getting bonus for sacrificing their time and their life, basically, to help in this community. And the volunteers who did it constantly and continuously every single day and week, they haven't even been recognized. They haven't even been given an award. I mean, it was scary out there going in people's cars when this COVID first hit. And we was putting water and food in people's cars. And then you have what she was just talking about. We need to recognize the volunteers and all the people who really dedicated themselves during this pandemic, at least give them an award and let them know that their, work did not go unnoticed, because it's hard, really, getting out here every day doing things and feel like you're not appreciated. But as I said before, we really need to start finding out all the kids that were affected by this water so that we can really, it might be contributing to the crime here in Flint. Some of the kids that were affected by the water. So we need to really find out all the kids that had issues while they were in school, behavior issues, and start compiling a list on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woodson. Are there any other comments from the public? Seeing there is none. Board members, Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Kyle Garrett from the Michigan Department of Education was unable to join us this evening. He asked Mr. Jones to send notification to us regarding his absence, as well as a copy of the PowerPoint that Mr. Walters prepared regarding the ESSER funds. A copy of the PowerPoint was passed out to you tonight. Does any board members have any comments? Okay, seeing there is none, let me see. The interim superintendent Jones also has requested that Mr. Dustin Spearman from Tremco join the meeting this evening to give us an update on the repairs needed for Doyle Ryder School. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Steven's trying to get it up on the screen.
Yeah.
Good evening, and most importantly, thank you to the school board, administrators, staff of Flint Community Schools, as well as community members who took time out of their evenings to be here tonight. We know that everybody's here because they care. My name is Dustin Premium, and I'm with a company called Tremco Roofing and Building Maintenance. I'm also joined with my partner, Kevin Velisco, who is a senior field advisor with Tremco, and he has been with the company for 30 years, so he brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table. Hopefully, as this is loading up, we do. Okay. We do have a brief presentation, but we also want to be. I do.
Just one second. We're gonna get our technology ongoing. Please be patient with us. Okay, and while they're working on that, I also like to bring before the board, actually, I like to move that we get some assistance from Mr. Interim superintendent. Hello? Okay, and while we're waiting on that, for them to get that together, we have brought a guest, Mr. Steve Callahan, to on board for a special project to assist Mr. Kevlin and Mr. Pete with getting Doyle Ryder and our special projects together. I've given Mr. Jones his resume, and we're going to pass it around and allow the board to take a look at that so that we can get our process done expediently.
That is not. I I believe it's Flint Community Schools board presentation, something along those lines.
So is that what we have here in our packet?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
gonna have to. While everybody's passing.
Okay. So we do have a brief presentation to talk about some of the challenges that we're dealing with at Doyle Ryder. We also want to be conscious of everybody's time and have time to answer any questions that might come up. So as we dive into the first few slides, I thought it might be helpful to provide some information on who Tremco is and what exactly we do, as well as perhaps some historical context as to how the relationship between Tremco and Flint Community Schools became a thing. So on the first page of the presentation, at the top where it says an RPM company, Tremco has been around for about 100 years, and we are a construction products group that specializes in making systems and materials that help to keep unwanted water and air out of buildings. If we work with local contractors who can install these systems and materials to help districts, school districts have a dry, healthy environment in their buildings. If you go to the next page that says why utilize Tremco, this gives a snapshot of our process. And I think just to give a quick story, the first meeting that I had with anybody from Flint Community Schools was about 4.5 years ago. The gentleman was new to the role of director of facilities. And in our conversation, I simply asked, what do you have in place for a roofing program? And at that time, he had a handwritten piece of notebook paper. And all it said was leaks at Freeman, leaks at Eisenhower, leaks at Holmes, and the list went on. And it's not the first time that we have heard that in meetings. And I guess the good news is, or the good news was, that is precisely what we help with. So as we look at this slide, we're starting from scratch with the district 4 years ago, and that looks a little something like this. So it's important to know what we have, right? Kevin and I have been on top of every building in the district, compiling information and data on what type of roofs are on each building, approximate age of those roofs, because we have no warranty information. What is the what is the condition of those roof systems? And as we compile this information and data, it helps provide a roadmap to help us prioritize and create long-term asset management programs for school districts to know which school or which roof needs attention first. With that information, we also set accurate budgets. When budgets get approved for projects under normal circumstances, we help with the bid documents. We help write the specifications, so contractors are all bidding an apples to apples scenario. We also help with the pre-bid process, and then as projects are happening, we serve as project managers and provide detailed progress reports with photos and descriptions so that everybody in this room knows what was paid, or I'm sorry, what they paid for is actually being done on the roof. And so we can go to the next page. I thought this might be helpful. A lot of people ask this question: who uses Tremco? Can you give some local references? So obviously we've been working with Flint Community Schools for the last handful of years. We've worked with U of M Flint, Mott Community College, Hurley Hospital, Genesee County for over a decade. And I've included some other K through 12s in Genesee County. But we are all over the state of Michigan and US and Canada. So the next page, we're going to dive into some of the roofing issues at Doyle Ryder. We can actually turn the next page to the condition photos where it says shingled roof. The top two photos, I'll just read the description. The photos on the top row were taken from the underside of the shingled roof. Daylight is visible in several areas, highlighting deficiencies, as well as how easily water is able to make its way into the building. The photos on the bottom row were taken from the exterior of the building, where you can see large areas of missing shingles and exposed underlayment. Next page. Diagnostic results. So these are for the flat roofs at Doyle Ryder. This was part of the district-wide analysis we did back in 2019. And you can see results from a few years ago. This is what we call a wet insulation report. Diagnostics are similar to an X-ray or an MRI of the roof system. We can only see so much with the naked eye. What's really important is what is that waterproofing membrane. And we can see from a few years ago, there were several spots, 8 to be exact, of wet insulation. And again, this was taken in 2019. And I just wrote, what we know to be true is these deficiencies don't get better on their own. Next page. So this is the plan for Doyle Ryder as far as roofing goes. The shingled portion of the building are contractors who did inspections up there and actually who did the emergency repairs to cover the larger holes with tarps temporarily. Mentioned that as they were walking on this roof, other shingles that appeared to be in place are just simply coming loose. And so we believe it's in the best interest of the school and the district to replace the shingled roof as opposed to try to patch it and just kind of deal with that in perpetuity. So the solutions that we'll be providing at the end of this presentation for the shingles will be replaced with a new 40-year dimensional shingle design. The flat roof sections that are in orange, we believe if the results from 2019 are still somewhat accurate, that these roofs can be saved as opposed to completely torn off and replaced, which saves the district money. There's less risk involved because we're not opening the building. There's less risk involved, it's less money because we're not going through a total replacement. We do address the problem areas that were highlighted in red, and we would need to do another diagnostic moisture survey prior to knowing that we can absolutely restore this section. But with the comprehensive restoration, you'd be left with a 20-year manufacturer's warranty. We are the only manufacturer that provides proactive warranties. So built into the cost of this 8 years, 2, 5, 10, and 15, our team would come out and inspect those roofs. If they notice any minor deficiencies, those are addressed at that time to make sure that those roofs can actually realize at least the 20-year warranty. The restoration process also sets you up in a better situation to break the cycle of replacement, so to speak. So after year 20, we can go through a fraction of the scope of work to renew that warranty for another 20 years.
What about a metal roof? Aren't those lifelong roofs? What about something like that?
It's a really good question. And when we first started working with Flint Community Schools and putting budgets together, that was what we recommended for the shingled portion at Doyle Ryder, because it sounded like this was an ongoing issue where shingles would just come off of the roof and you try to patch it up and keep up with it. You're right. I mean, the longevity of metal roofs is great. They are more expensive, obviously. And if that is desired, it's something that we can look into. At this time, we're trying to move quickly and provide a solution.
I understand that. I understand that totally, but I was listening to what you said about the patching and the 20-year. Well, I'm patched up here for 20 years, but I'm getting weak over there, and in another 2 years, that's gonna be a problem. And then in 2 years, you gotta, and then in another 3 or 4 years, over here is a little weak, and 5 years ago, it could make it another 5 years, but it's over with for today. So I would at least like to see some numbers to know what we're looking at for something like that. Even if we had, I don't know, I don't think section would be nice, but I'm just saying, it seems like that is something that we should shoot for, but we have to look at the numbers. I understand that with us getting new funding for repairs, I mean, I just think we should consider all of the options.
Yeah,
That's
thank
all.
you for, thank you for the feedback. And yeah, and just again, to be clear about the shingled portion, we wouldn't just be patching the bad areas right now. This would be a complete replacement of the current shingled system.
Okay, which
So-
would last for 20 years. Okay, and you said the cost of that was
So the cost to do the shingles as well as the flat roofs, 440,000.
right, okay.
So that's all together. That includes labor, materials.
So that's
Warranty.
everything. That's the whole kit and caboodle. This baby is done for 440 some thousand odd dollars. We don't have to revisit that at least for 20 more years is what you're saying.
That's right.
Okay.
And-
Ms. Green, did you have a question?
So this information is compiled from when you guys looked at the roof in 2019.
That's right.
So we gonna get an up-to-date list? Because that's been a couple of years ago.
Yes, so any of our diagnostic results, like you're looking at right now, for us to be able to put a warranted system on a roof or a building,
Okay.
we have to have diagnostic results that have been performed within a calendar year. So also included in this price would be another moisture survey to look at the flat roofs.
Mhm.
Because if something bizarre has happened and the wet insulation has spread so drastically,
Right.
we typically like to see 20% or less wet insulation. As of 2019, I believe you were around 3% in those 8 areas.
Mhm.
It would have had to have spread pretty quickly.
Okay.
It's not saying that's impossible, but that is part of the process and it's built in, and it would have to be performed before the actual roof project, for the flat sections at least.
So this information is really kind of outdated and not really something that we can, because when you say 440,000, that doesn't include looking at the roof today or presently?
It does.
It does?
It does. So
Okay.
built into the $440,000, the cost to do another moisture survey for the flat roofs at Doyle Ryder is
Okay.
in the bid.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yes.
So the only thing that can increase is if the moisture spread, like you said,
Yeah. If we increased
right?
over 20%, which again, there's a non-zero chance. It's not impossible, but
Right.
it's unlikely.
Okay, okay.
Um,
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, because you said if the moisture spread it, but it's unlikely, but it is likely because we just had an issue that tells us that it's very moist in there.
Moisture than usual.
Ms. McIntosh, I expect that it probably spread some. When I said it's unlikely that it's spread, I meant it's unlikely that it's spread to the point where it's over 20% wet
Okay,
compared to the 3% that it was in 2019. So
Okay.
my apologies.
that's okay. Thank you so much. Any other questions from the board? Okay, seeing there is no further questions, Mr. Campbell, you have anything?
Yeah, I'd just like to, first of all, thank you for your presentation. But when it comes to the area of, when we talk about Doyle Ryder and what we're dealing with now, can you elaborate a little bit on the work that you guys done with the district as it pertains to trying to come up with the best solution for the mold that we had at Doyle Ryder?
Specific to the mold.
Yes.
So when I mentioned in the beginning about who Tremco is, we're part of a construction products group. Under that umbrella, there are about 60 different companies. We're fortunate that we do have a sister company called Pure Air that handles situations exactly like this. And we talked in the emergency meeting about just simply cleaning the mold and hoping it comes back is probably not ideal, that we need to get to the root cause, which is what we try to do also with roofing and other aspects of the building envelope. But Pure Air comes into these situations and they do a pre-assessment looking for why is this happening, right? Once they come up with those answers, then they can actually do the remediation. And after the remediation, they will do a post-remediation analysis. And they provide results to administration, community members whose kids go to school, teachers, staff members, to know that inside of that building, we have good air quality and you have the deliverables in the form of reports, so you can feel confident. As an organization, we take on a lot of liability. We're involved in a lot from A to Z as far as roofing goes, but we're also very thorough. And not to speak for our colleagues at Pure Air, but that's why we feel comfortable doing it.
So you're speaking about what you could do. I'm actually speaking about the mold that we've had.
Yes.
And the situation that we have been dealing with over the last week or so. Did Tremco have any say or any help in that work to ensure that we can get that mold handled from July? Because the mold was in there from July, right? And
Yes.
I had emails that Tremco was suggesting some things to the district. And so what I'm asking you to elaborate on is what your suggestions, and did those things work at the time?
Okay. So when the mold situation was brought to our attention, we worked closely with Pure Air, who specializes in exactly this. They put together a proposal to do the process that we just talked about, coming in, doing the assessment, finding the actual root cause that will help lead them to coming up with a solution to take care of that, as well as post-assessment. That dollar amount exceeded what could be approved without the school board at that time. And so we did our best to give recommendations to the team, the CSM team, because it looked like there was kind of it was the end of the road as far as the pure air solution. And we also knew that school was starting and everybody wanted to move quickly. So I don't know if I'm answering.
Sort of, thank
Okay.
you. Okay, thank you. And that's where the humidifiers came in at.
Yeah. So what we learned was the mold areas were cleaned by the team, by CSM's team, and then they put large fans over those areas. They likely should have had fans and humidifiers to draw the moisture out, because even though carpet may feel dry to the touch, it's likely not, and that's only going to help promote more mold growth. So we were doing our best to give suggestions that might fit within that budget scenario at that present time.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Ms. McNeil?
I remember talking to you when we had that first Zoom meeting, after all this incident happened at Doyle. A question I have to you, how long did the maintenance people know about their roof? How long were you aware of the damage of that roof?
So I knew about Doyle Ryder from about 4 years ago.
The condition of the roof?
Yes, I would imagine that it has worsened over time, but we knew that there were missing shingles and that we could see some daylight through that roof.
Don't you think, knowing the condition of the roof and trying to continue maintenance and repair the building, that should have been an issue that we should have been addressing, because we know what a damaged roof would do to a building? And I guess my concern is, if you knew about it 4 years ago, I think that we should have had some notification that we wouldn't be where we're at now if we had addressed the roof issue.
It's a very good point. And to your point, the district has had budgets for every single school since after the diagnostic district analysis was completed in 2019. And so our role in partnership with the district to this point has unfortunately largely been reactive rather than proactive. And what was communicated to us was there were challenging budget scenarios, which we will do everything we can to help. But up until this point, present day, it has mostly been, we would get a call that there was a leak at a certain school, and we would help to manage those leaks. And that's basically the extent of it. So there have been budgets to address every roof throughout the district for several years now. I think the obvious challenge too has been, in those 4 years, there have been multiple people in directors of facility roles, different superintendents. And so, as a matter of fact, Tish, not to put you on the spot, but it's kind of been a continual process of passing along this information to whoever might be in that position at that time. So.
Well, I want to make this statement. One thing's for sure, we cannot patch and patch and patch up a roof that we know that's creating problems. And I wasn't here when it happened, and if it'd been going on 4 years, we just have to make some decision. We got to get past patching, because where you patched it at this point, the damage went somewhere else, because we were just patching. So I'm still a little bit confused why. I know we had budget issues, but sometimes we have to come to the conclusion, are we having health issues? And a leaking roof creates health problems. And so now this board was just left with, we're right where we are now. But I can't address what happened in the past, but I did want to just put that out there to the audience that we've been patching for a very long time, it appears. Okay.
Are there any, Ms. Laura?
What date did you know about the mold? Were you notified about the mold and that you knew definitively that there was mold in the building?
I'd have to look back at emails for a specific date. I want to say it was July because it was the first date of school at Doyle, right, or early August. I believe we had about a week and a half prior to the first day of school to try to mobilize and get something done.
Were you instructed to come up with a solution that was under an amount, so not have to be before the board?
No, we gave the solution what we felt was right.
You were trying to win an amount that was below what was actionable by the board.
When we submitted the proposal from Pure Air, from our partners at Pure Air, it was communicated that, well, that's above $5,000 and anything above $5,000 needs board approval.
When you say it was communicated, can you please not use the passive construction when you say that? It was who communicated it to whom?
It was a conversation with Ms. Stewart.
So you were instructed by the superintendent to not pursue options above the $5,000 threshold?
No, not directly. I don't.
Okay, then I'm trying to figure out.
So the budget for the solution from Pure Air was somewhere in the $50,000 range to come in and do that whole process. When that was submitted for the budget, then we were told that, well, that cannot be approved because it's over $5,000 and anything over $5,000 needs board approval.
What was decided at that point? You were just out of the decision-making process at that point? You were no longer part of the picture? Would that be accurate to say?
Well, the pre-assessment portion of Pure Air's solution was going to be more than $5,000. So at that point, it was like, well, what can we do to help the district? And that was basically utilizing our specialist at Pure Air and simply asking what can they do tied on money and time. And
what could be done?
What could be done, knowing that
was there anything that could be done?
The best recommendation was to clean the mold again and get dehumidifiers, excuse me.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Green?
So the $50,000 you were talking about, would that have taken care of the mold coming back, whatever that would, what would that cost cover? Since we knew the 5,000 only covered cleaning and dehumidifiers, what would the 50,000 have covered?
Yeah, so the estimated budget of $50,000 was for them to mobilize quickly, do the pre-assessment, which is them doing an investigation, looking for the root cause. Why is the mold reappearing? Which could be multiple reasons. Estimated cost of remediation to address that based off of their findings, as well as some post-remediation testing.
Okay, so that would have been for where you spotted mold or for the entire building?
Well, so at that time we had knowledge of mold being in 6 classrooms.
Okay.
So
And that was in July, you said?
it was about a week and a half prior to
Okay.
the first day of school at Doyle Ryder.
Another question.
Yes.
So 4 years ago, when you guys came out, you were called out because of what? It seems like you've been called out periodically. And has it been for leaks all the time?
4 years ago, the relationship started because I simply knocked on the door.
Mhm.
So,
Why did you do that?
because I want to partner with Flint community schools. Like we partner with other school districts and universities and
Okay.
healthcare networks
Oh, okay.
in
So,
the area.
okay. All righty. So, when you knocked on the door to partner with us, you did that because you thought we needed help, or you just wanted to see just in case we needed help, you were available? I'm just not sure on why. Because typically businessmen see opportunity when they knock on doors, right? So I'm just wondering what type of thinking, had you heard something, or did you know our buildings were older, or what, what brought that about?
No, so really good question.
Mhm.
And I had made calls and knocked on the door with Flint Community Schools for years, not
Okay.
knowing the status. I was actually brand new to the territory.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I knew that we had been working with other clients in the
Mhm.
area.
Okay,
My wife's an educator.
okay, I got
You
you.
know, yeah. I feel like our process, because we take a more comprehensive approach,
Okay.
that we're able to save school districts money because they're being proactive rather than reactive, which is always going to be the most expensive option. And I know that public school systems are not swimming in dollars.
Right.
And so it's more important than ever to have a plan in place, right? I know the administration has a plan, right? I don't know too many organizations who do not,
But okay.
who do not have a plan in place.
But, I was just curious, and also, so when you came and seen the buildings 4 years ago, and also in 19, did you make suggestions and recommendations of what we should be doing to avoid certain things? Was those recommendations given?
Not until I was actually on the roofs of a few schools, because it's not a cookie cutter approach for
Okay.
us. There are different solutions. There are some roofs that can be repaired,
Mhm.
and we can extend the life for a very long time if they're caught in time.
Right.
There are some roofs that can be restored, which save the district money if they're caught in time. There are some roofs that unfortunately need to be replaced because they've been let go for too long.
Mhm.
And again, that's the most expensive option. So we as an organization like to catch things
Right.
earlier because we know there are options.
Right, so for us specifically, when you came, because I'm just curious as on if something was suggested and recommended and we kind of put it to the back burner and was doing other things, I just want to know, whenever you came and whenever you had the opportunity to go on the roof or however you did it,
Yeah.
did you make suggestions and recommendations and then tell, because typically that's what people do, if you don't do this, this is what can happen, right?
Yeah.
So did you do those kind of things, just out of curiosity?
Yes, so in late 2018,
Okay.
throughout 2019 is when we recommended to do a district-wide diagnostic analysis,
Okay,
because we're dealing with 15 or so buildings at that time.
okay,
And again, we had no information aside from when Kevin and I walked roofs. We can only tell so much with our eyes. And so that was a way for us to get a grasp on this process. You have a lot of roofs, there's a lot of square footage, there's a lot of buildings. What roofs are good? What roofs are fair? What roofs are poor? Which need priority first?
okay.
And that's how we create these long-term asset management plans, which the district has had for a few years now.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
it. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Ms. Laura?
I have a follow-up question. So in July, going back to the time period when you gave your recommendations, we're told it was too cost prohibitive. You have a lot of experience, as you said, with liability issues and making sure that assets are protected and that things don't go wrong so that I'm assuming that lawsuits can be brought to bear, or that, the districts get charged with, say, OSHA violations or things like that. Would that be a safe assumption?
Yes, I would say that our company, as well as our sister companies, have a very thorough process to avoid, to our best ability, to avoid surprises and change orders that could have been prevented had a few extra steps been taken.
So given your expertise and your vast experience in this area, what was your assessment of the situation of being told to use humidifiers and a drying out process to deal with mold remediation? Would that have been something that you would have, that would have met your liability criteria?
Well, it wasn't our leading recommendation.
Would it have been any of your recommendations?
We were trying to provide any sort of guidance that we could to help the situation, knowing that we were out of the picture at that point as well, just trying to be an owner's advocate at that point.
And given your vast client list, do you have any experience with your other clients having used these techniques to deal with a situation like this? Would other school districts have done this?
Would have done, can you expand on that?
Dragged out a couple of humidifiers to deal with a mold remediation situation?
So I would say, please understand that we are not the mold experts and that we have a sister company called Pure Air who does that.
That's understood.
With with Pure Air, we are leaning heavily on an industrial hygienist who leads that team situation. Funding and our recommendation not going to be implemented. That was the best suggestion that he could help with at that point. Try to clean it up the best they can, keep the fans on it, and they also need to, if they were under financial constraints, I would hope they would do whatever they could in that.
Well, thank you for your safe and careful answer.
Ms. McNeil.
I listened closely to what you're saying, and it appears that the problem is that it's not that you could not do the work. It was due to the fact that it could have been you was limited with the resources that this district was able to provide. So if you came to me and you told me this is your problem, then it appears that I tell you, well, I'm not going to spend but so many dollars, and the recommendation would be what is the cheaper way was to get the dehumidifiers, which kind of put you in the seat where you're at now. And so I really believe that you can get the work done. That's not my question right there, but I listened to the question back and forth. You're not on trial here, we're just asking questions. And we know where that decision came from about those dehumidifiers. And the question would be, you had to do something or do nothing. Is this what I'm hearing when they came to you and suggested the humidifiers?
Yes, we're asking questions to the experts that we partner with, what could possibly be done with extremely limited funds.
Looking at your PowerPoint, all of these costs totaled together, and you're giving what, like a 20-year guarantees on the roof or what? And are we patching now? Are we putting a pretty much complete roof on in some places.
Both systems, so the shingles would be completely taken down to the underlayment and replaced with new shingles. The flat roofs can be restored, which is applying a new waterproofing membrane while also addressing the bad areas of lead insulation. Those would all be cut out down to the structural deck. The insulation would be replaced with the same insulation thickness, same insulation type, and you'd be left with a 20-year manufacturer's warranty with built-in inspections throughout.
Okay, I have no more questions.
Thank you. Does any other board members have any comments? Okay, thank you, Mr. Dustin. Can you pronounce your last name?
Premium?
Freemian. Okay, thank you, Mr. Dustin Freemian. I didn't want to mess you up for,
To reiterate what Dr. Joyce was saying, that you're not under trial. These questions aren't necessarily directed at or towards you. It's more of a way of eliciting information so that the public can hear it. And you're in no way to blame or at fault for the problems of our district. So I just wanted to thank you for your time and for your input and for working with us. And hopefully we can move forward and get the best situation done for our district moving forward. But I just wanted to reiterate that, like, it feels like a grilling right here. And I'm not trying to grill you. I'm just trying to, get all the pieces in place and get all the information. So thank you.
So, last question. How long will it take to get Doyle Ryder's roof completed?
So the contractor for the shingled portion, feel like we can get started in a month. Worst case, this is what's being communicated to us, because we know that's the next logical question that typically comes up. It's a tough situation. We're dealing with contractor availability. There are supply chain issues, raw material shortages, so.
Thank you.
Oh, so it gets cold here, right? So. Month, right, so a month for the shingles, and then, it's gonna be more time, like you said, to get the contractors and all that other stuff.
Dipping into the winter,
Okay.
if they can get going within a month.
Okay,
And that's from time of approval, right?
okay,
The good news about this is the shingled portion and the flat sections could be going at the same time.
contractors available for that kind of stuff?
Yeah, because they don't come into play too much with each other.
Okay, that's good.
The masonry portion
Mhm.
of this, which is on the next page of the presentation, but I understand if we need to save this for another time, we're just trying to address everywhere where there's potential water entry points.
Right,
But yeah, as far as the roofing, those could be going technically at the same time. And yeah,
okay, thank you, sir, appreciate you.
okay, so is it the pleasure of the board to move to table this till next week as well to make a decision? Because what I'm understanding, because I'm not no authority in this, but from what I'm understanding is this gentleman, you're contracting this work out to be done, or your company is doing this work?
we went to some of our local contractors to see who had availability, who was capable of handling a job of this complexity that has safety issues like the shingled portion. And so it's a local contractor, but we would be providing the value-added services that we typically do as far as providing progress reports, photos, descriptions, that would be distributed with the administration.
So you're like a roofing consultant?
I would say we're similar to a specifying consultant. We make the materials,
Oh, okay.
right? But we partner with local contractors who can apply those materials. We act very much like a consultant. You're just not paying consultants fees.
Can you
Done.
give us a price on that lifetime roof as well? And so do we need, as a board, go ahead.
When you say local, are we talking Flint? Is that how local we're speaking about?
We do have local contractors in Flint. They did not have the capacity at this time.
But not what?
They did not have the capacity
At this
at
time.
this time to move as quickly as
Okay, I
as
got
we
you.
wanted to. So
Okay, because we like local. I just want to
yeah,
add
we
that,
do
okay?
too.
We
We've
like
got
local.
contractors in Bay City, Saginaw,
Okay.
Flint,
Okay.
all over. So
Okay, so at this time, is there any more questions from the board?
If it's going to take a month, even if we pull the trigger now and it would take up to a month, what could be done in the interim between now and when anything to preserve anything, to safeguard anything? Is there anything that can be done?
So for the shingled portion, about 2 weeks ago, we had the contractor secure tarps to the best of their ability over the largest open areas in the shingled roof, trying to keep the majority of water out. So that was the very temporary solution until we could get to this point.
Sounds like my house.
I didn't hear you, Miss Laura. You said
Oh, I
it's,
said it sounds like my house.
Ms. Go ahead, Ms. McNeil.
We're talking about postponing it till the next meeting
Which is when,
because I had such hard experience in this type of situation. Every minute, every day that we play with this,
they still can't act till 30 days, though, no matter what, whether we vote this week or next week. Can't
that's
nothing
what you're saying,
happen.
you can't act for 30 days. He can't do anything for 30 days.
That's how I took it. Is that what you're saying? For 30 days, nothing can happen regardless of how we vote tonight? Is that proper?
That, excuse me, upon approval, they would be able to get to it within a month, hopefully sooner, but that's,
So
Okay,
a month and a week is what it is. We can break it down to a month. Let's get it done today. A month
Okay.
and that week.
okay.
I feel
Well, then,
And the holdup is actually shingles. That's what, with the month, is that what's taking, that's what would take it to start to get the shingles?
yeah,
Okay.
just to be able to fit with their,
Yeah.
current workload.
But if we was to do this today, as far as voting on it and approving it, that would kind of,
It only helps, to your point that you mentioned earlier, winter
yeah,
is around the
exactly.
corner.
Yep.
and,
Okay.
And the contractors can't just hold a spot open,
Right.
hoping that somebody's,
Right. We don't expect nobody, yeah. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Let's get this going.
I'm sorry, Monica.
Oh, man.
That you brought with you, is that what the board would be adopting?
The proposals,
The scopes, yes.
yes, those are actual quotes, not budget numbers. Those are actual quotes from the contractors.
Can I pass that to the board
Yes, if you,
so that they know?
No. Okay. Okay. Ms. McNeil.
Hi, sorry for the speaking quietly, but I just have a problem with a flat roof restoration because I had a building that had flat roof, and you still run a risk. Wouldn't it be easier or safer, better to just get a new flat roof than you're trying to restore a roof that's already years old? Because I found out you're gonna have a problem. That's what I was discussing in your proposal, flat roof restoration. Um, it's not that much expensive just to repair it with it. Not to repair, just get a new one.
A good question. Restoration's usually about 2/3, sometimes half the cost of replacement. The system that we would be restoring this roof with, and keep in mind, the restoration process, we're finding any areas of wet insulation. Those are being cut out and addressed. Any deficiencies that are present in the current roofing system are addressed prior to the beginning of our restoration process. To your point, as far as performance goes, to replace a roof with a similar roof that's on Doyle Riders Flat sections right now, we would likely be coming back with what they call a single ply roof system. That waterproofing membrane is about 60 mils thick, or think of the thickness of your credit card. That is all that's protecting the building from moisture getting in. There are also laps and seams approximately every 10 feet on those systems, which are typically the biggest contributors to leaks when those fail. When we restore a roof, we're adding mil thickness to the existing. So you have 60 mils in place. We'd be coming back with 64 mils on top of that, with the seams, any penetrations, mechanical units reinforced with fabric. The AIA, or American Institute of Architects, did a third-party study, so this is not me telling you how great one of our systems is. They looked at a fluid-applied aliphatic system, which is this restoration system, compared to single-ply roof systems, the most common, most popular roof systems on the market for replacement. And the fluid-applied systems outperform that when it comes to elongation, tensile strength, puncture resistance. You're also left with a seamless system, so we're eliminating the common problem areas with the roof that's currently up there, and also replacing that roof width. The big benefit of restoration is it's less than replacement now. 20 years down the road, we are able to measure how much of the top coat is worn off, clean it, you can prime it, reapply top coat, and you get a new 20-year manufacturer's warranty for a fraction of the scope of work and a fraction of the cost of what replacement would be 20 years down the road. And what we know to be true is the cost of roofing approximately doubles every 10 years.
So with that, are you done? Just like instead of taking off my old shields, you're gonna go shingles. Big shingles, a new membrane, or you're running over the top with the new material. Is that proper?
Not exactly, because we are finding the problem areas first.
Okay,
and cutting
so,
that out.
so I understand that I'm saying, but at the end of the day, that's what it will probably come down to. You'd cut out the problem areas and reinforce them. So that leads me to my next question. In the wintertime, it's a flat roof, it's snowing, the weight is heavy on the roof. Then we've already gone over the old roofing with new roofing, which adds more weight to the roof.
So Mr. Jalisco has a sample.
So my question is this, I'd like to know how much a new roof costs as well as this go over restoration thing, because restoration and then in 20 years, do it again. And I'm thinking, let's do it one time, the lifetime roof.
Are you saying that your roof only lasts 20 years or just the warranty is 20 years?
The manufacturer, you can use in perpetuity. So at Ford Field, there are several in college.
Their roofs are new though, ours, yours
No,
not.
it was a 14-year-old failing roof, just like you have
Really?
at Doyle Ryder.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So, and this may help. We are what I call roofing agnostic because we make virtually every type of roof system. And so we don't just have one roof system that we're trying to recommend here. We look at all of the information that we have available and
Okay.
lead with the recommendation that we feel is the best.
Okay.
So you have these roofs all over U of M Flint, all over CMU, all, Delta College, you name it. It's not a new process. It might be new to the district.
Okay, so
but-
let's just say we did this and
Yeah.
we went with the guys you recommend, and then in 6 years, we have a problem.
Yeah.
And we're calling Timco back and we're like, we don't have any money because you already know that we're a poor district or a
Yeah.
struggling district. And we want our roof fixed because you said 20 years, it's only been 6. We've got another 14 in. And what are you gonna do? Because I don't want to pay you any more money after we pay you this time. We don't want to pay you again. We want to be done with this.
Yeah, so Ms. McIntosh, you bring up a good point. And with our warranties, we have a proactive system where we proactively come out to your roofs. In the example of a 20-year warranty, years 2, 5, 10, and 15. And if we see any of those deficiencies, those are addressed.
Okay,
Another good point that you brought up is when you call Tremco, because we're the supplier, right?
yeah, exactly.
And so it gives you one contact point. And when I talked about liability, when we help you with this whole process, it's kind of, who can we point fingers at that stage of the game? Tremco's been around for almost 100 years. We're not going anywhere.
Okay,
When these issues, if they were to arise, we have longstanding partnerships for a reason. We don't just try to land a project and then move on to the next one. There's a reason why we've been working with Hurley,
I got
U of
you.
M, Mott for decades.
Okay, so,
Just so you guys know, we're starting up a project Monday at U of M Flint, similar to what we're
speaking to the
talking about
mic,
here.
please, sir.
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you. now.
We're starting up a project at U of M Flint on Monday, very similar construction to what's at Doyle Ryder, if anyone's interested in looking at it. And as well as Mott, I think by the end of this month.
Okay.
similar type system, so.
Okay, so is the board comfortable with all they've heard? So are we going to take action tonight? Is it the pleasure of the board to take action this evening?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Ms. Green.
so I just want to be clear, and this is to the board especially. I just don't want us to keep doing the patchworks, and I think we all on the same page with that. I just would like to see Doyle Ryder renovated completely.
I would.
If we could tear this off and we do enough, I would hope we can get some people in the building to do that other renovations that we need.
Okay, so, which leads me to this point of bringing Mr. Callahan in as a consultant, because you've seen his resume. Not only does he have his certifications with the state, but
Right.
Mr. Callahan is not afraid to get his hands dirty.
Okay.
And I will disclose the fact that I know him personally. So I know his
That's
work,
good.
and I've also went up to his place of business that he renovates himself, and it passes the codes for the state. And have done some hands-on work with him. He's very hands-on. So the fact that they are working on the roof, I think Mr. Callahan is perfectly capable of orchestrating the carpet being ripped out or whatever these guys direct him for the next move to be, so that we can come full circle with a renovation over at Doyle Ryder and ultimately get our students back in there in a timely fashion, because we can't, and then we know we have other projects to move on to. So I would like for us to bring this to the board, get this handled, maybe get Mr. Callahan to consult, working specifically for the administration and the board to be who he is responsible to, so we can truly know what is going on. And so we can truly know what's going on with the progress of this. In just a second, Mo is keeping me on track. In just a second, guys. Okay, I got you. Okay, so with that being said, what we're going to do is we will vote on, I guess, Mr. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so does that quote include bringing pure air inside, doing whatever they do with the modes? Is there the experts on the mode? Because we need to be kind of doing this stuff simultaneously, I'm thinking, right?
That doesn't include that. That's just the roofing.
Okay, so what
Now,
we
we've
gotta,
had ARC in,
we got who?
ARC environmentalists.
Oh, okay, okay.
They've come to Doyle Ryder already.
Okay.
We're in contact. They've
Those
already
mode
taken,
experts? That's the mode,
yes,
okay.
they've
Okay.
already been in. Now, that the pure air is a different thing.
Oh, it's complicated.
I'm not saying we shouldn't,
Right.
because we still need to find the problem behind,
The source, absolutely.
right.
Mhm.
But I 100% agree
Okay.
that if we're going to have Doyle Ryder over at Potter, which we thank Potter for all of that, I want to make sure Gretchen Schaefer and the team knows that we appreciate all their hard work. Even during their time off, they've been working. So I want to acknowledge that. And also Doyle Ryder staff. But since they're over there, we need to make good on, like
Absolutely.
you're saying. I mean, and if we're going to be working with, I didn't, what's his name, Mr. Callahan?
Yeah, we're gonna move Mr. Callahan next week, because since I know him on a personal basis, I'm gonna abstain, and we're gonna wait for Mr. Walker to come back to see if we can get some support, so he can act as a consultant and a liaison to let us know what's going on, what our true progress is, what our real timelines are. And like I said, Mr. Callahan can drive the equipment. He can work the heavy equipment. He's qualified to do all this work, abatement, get in there with the mold, the asbestos. It is nothing that is going to go on at the construction site that he is not qualified to be a part of. So that is why I would like for him to kind of let us know what's going on with our money.
And I'm in agreement with trustee Green. And when we start, my personal opinion, I don't think we should be running the floor.
Well, I'm saying whatever it is, carpet, ceramic,
Let's
we
get
can
on
do
this
that.
and repeat what I'm hearing.
Right.
while they're doing that.
Yep.
Let's pull that carpet up, because
Whatever they
that's
gotta
what
do.
kids at.
Well, that's,
You can't keep it clean, it doesn't get clean. And we had spoke to Mr. Kevin about it. So while we making these, changes and stuff, let's just take care of Doe Ryder on one hit and let's keep it moving. If they have to come back, Mr. Kevin knows that we're here for him.
okay, well, I'm moving that we move forward with the roof work on Doyle Ryder. Um, can I guess this? The renovation. I move that we start the renovation, starting with the roof on Doyle Ryder. And I'm gonna need a second for that.
Second on that.
It has been moved and properly seconded. I also want to add to next week's calendar, Mr. Callahan for special assignment to support us in this. Because like I said, I want this to move expediently. I want somebody to be honest with us as to where we're at. I trust that Mr. Callahan will not allow them to one-step us and charge us and one more step and charge us. He will make sure we got the full cost and be in the know. That is where I'm at with Doyle Ryder. We have to be in the know at this point. I think it hurt us severely not knowing that we had a building full of mold. We could have prevented that with some knowledgeable people and some folks that are not afraid to tell the guy at the top, look,
Oh, we knew.
that is wrong and you cannot do that. That is shabby work. Because as they stated, this was cleaned up right before school started. And as soon as school started, look at the situation we ended up with. So that tells the story that this is out of hand. So we have we moved and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion as it pertains to getting the roof work done and the renovations done to Doyle Ryder? Seeing there is none, it has been moved and properly seconded. Those that approve this motion, please signify by saying aye. Those that are opposed, say nay. Aye. Okay, the ayes have it and the motion is passed. Mr. Kaplan, did you have anything else? At this time, do you guys have anything else you'd like to say?
With the presentation, there was some masonry work in there too, but I know we've taken a lot of time. So if that's a conversation for.
And you're more than welcome to come back next week if you like, and we can continue the discussion. I don't think we have an, is that a part of the renovation? Uh-oh, so do we need to discuss it? Are we in yay for the renovation? We are yay for the renovation, so, because we have to have it done, so. And if you're gonna be responsible for your work and you're bonded and licensed, whomever is gonna do the work, right?
Yes, all of our contractors are vetted financially and past workmanship, so.
Okay, so we're moving forward on the renovations, because we did include that in the motion, starting with the roof work for the renovations on Doyle Ryder. This includes roof work, the flooring, all things Doyle Ryder to get it back up and running. Okay, so it has been moved and properly supported. I thank you guys for coming before us. You can come back and explain it to us next week, even though we voted on it, we still do want to know what it is you're doing. So please, and we'll have Monica put you back on there. You'll be at the end this time and not at the front. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else, Mr. King?
Just want to take this time to express to the Brownell family, as they had lost a teacher over the weekend. I'd just like to say to Ms. Bias and the team, you have our sympathy, our condolences. I want to thank Ms. Bias for reaching out to cabinet members, reaching out to myself Sunday, and trying to come up with a plan that is best for our scholars and also the staff at the school. We were able to meet Tuesday morning with the staff and come up with a plan. I would like to thank Todd Barlis and the MTSS social workers who showed up to support the staff. And we will also continue to do this when all of the staff comes back next week. But the young lady's name who passed away was Miss Casey Purdy. She was a kindergarten teacher, and she was an amazing part of the team of Brownell and an amazing, she spoke at a couple of our board meetings. And so if we can just take a moment of silence for Miss Casey Purdy.
Okay, we're gonna have 15 minutes of silence starting now.
Seconds?
Seconds, yes.
15 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say I had the pleasure of meeting Casey when she reached out to me to read one of my children's books to her class. And the love and the compassion and the compassion she had for the children was amazing to be in her presence and watch her work. Because when we got the email, I'm like, no, it can't be who I'm thinking, right? And it saddened me so much to know that it was her. She was such a genuine, sweet person. And like you said, condolences to her family and the staff and the babies over there, because I know they're gonna miss her.
Okay, okay, due to the untimely resignation of the two board members as well as the absence of Mr. Walker this evening, I am seeking a motion and a second to table all action items listed on the agenda and hold a board cow meeting on Wednesday, September 15th at 5:30 p.m. prior to our regular board meeting at 6:30. It has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing no discussion, the vote is on the motion to table all action items until Wednesday, September 15th at 5:30 p.m. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those opposed say nay. Aye. Okay, it has been moved and properly seconded, and the ayes have it that we'll table the rest of our board packet to next week. And also, I just want to share with the board the reason for us also bringing Mr. Callahan forth is because Mr. Kevlin's position is an administrator in education. He's been handling our construction work and our on-site work, but Mr. Kevlin is not equipped for that. He's been very candid and honest about that. So that is also one of the reasons for the request, and I just wanted to share that also with the board. Mr. Kevlin works on academics and things like that, and we need him in our buildings working in his capacity that he was hired for. So before we adjourn, does any other board members have any comments? You said you have something? Okay. Yes, go ahead, Dr. Joyce.
Okay, this is kind of like a friendly announcement. We are on Sunday, September the 12th, between the hours of 3 to 6. We're gonna have the Piston back to school book bag giveaway at Bountiful Love Ministry under Mr. Jones, or Pastor Jones when we get there. And I just think this is a good opportunity. Maybe we can get the flyers out and give them to the students so we can kind of get our spirits back up. The Pistons going to be there. They're going to be giving away prizes. We're also going to be doing vaccination if anybody wants. It's going to be a fun day and bring the family out to that event, especially the children. They've been going through a lot of changes at Burnell and even with Dorrider and Potter. If we can get these kids together and bring them to that event and let them enjoy themselves. So please come out, Bountiful Ministry.
Bountiful Love.
Bountiful Love, and I let Mr. Jones elaborate on that a little bit better than I did.
This church in the community is having an event at 3432 West Pasadena, giving away book bags. Everyone's invited. And the Detroit Pistons will be there to support as well. It's from 3.
To get your booster shot. So
Yes.
if you're thinking about getting your booster shot and you didn't know where you can go to get that, you can go to Bountiful, you'll love to this event, and you can get your booster shot. Michigan United will be sponsoring these shots and giving out information, and we look forward to you being there. And I will definitely be there to support Mr. Kevlin, much as he does for this district. I would not dare miss it. So I look forward to seeing everyone there. And if no more board members have any comments, this meeting is now adjourned. The time is 8:16.